Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. I have with me Mr. Deep Haldar. Firstly, he's a journalist. He's been writing for a lot of years. He's written 3 books. ठीक है एंड मैं मानता हूँ कि इनका एक बड़ा डिफरेंट अप्रोच है अबाउट लुकिंग एट व्हाट जो आपका बांग्लादेश में वेस्ट बंगाल में काफी सारी चीजों के बारे में इन्होंने लिखा है एंड ही कीप्स एक्चुअली अपडेटिंग हिमसेल्फ एंड इनके आर्टिकल्स भी आते हैं. So please check out all of those. Very, very interesting writing, and I'm really glad that he's taken out time. Firstly, sir, namaskar. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Namaskar. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. It's a Bangladesh is धीरे धीरे करके it's become a pain, and हमेशा से था. We probably didn't recognize it, and that's something
Yeah.
which I'm always ready to acknowledge कि हाँ वो शेख हसीना थी तो एक comfort zone था. We were just हाँ ठीक है चल रहा है. Let it be. How do you see the situation in Bangladesh overall, sir? कैसे देखते हो आप इसको?
Right. I think it's very serious right now as far as India is concerned. I mean, there's a big reason for concern about Bangladesh. I mean, people are asking me whether it's as bad as Pakistan. I would say it's worse because with Pakistan, you know what you're dealing with. You have always known what you're dealing with. With Bangladesh, you don't know. So if it was a frenemy till yesterday, it's an enemy now. The hate in civil society is very worrying, and it's not just religious hatred. I mean, it's easy to explain it through a religious lens, a Hindu Muslim lens. It's more than that. The liberals are also against India, and that's a very worrying thing. It's not about Sheikh Hasina. It's not about a new government that might come into place if the elections happen early February next year. It's not about the noise they'll make around India. So India is a very big country to have as a neighbor. So Bangladesh will have to do trade with India, and whenever the interim government goes, a new government is sworn in. However, the election happens, that government will have to do business with India. It's about the rot in the civil society, the rampant anti-India hate that's in civil society. That's worrying long term. And added to that, the spread of Islamism that has happened. It has always been happening. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. I mean, it happened during Sheikh Hasina's time as well. She somehow knew how to put a lid on it, not let it erupt, but it was there, and now it's out in the open. So that's a very worrying thing. That it's not about governments anymore. It's about people. And what I started by saying, people ask me that is it as worrying as Pakistan, and I say that Pakistan is perhaps better in Pakistan because Pakistan has a very thin sliver of elite, social elites, social, literary, cultural elites who would perhaps look at India from a different lens. No, but in Bangladesh, I think even the elite is against India, most of them.
That's very interesting, and the point about Bangladesh has become um, the fact that it has become a hotbed of the jihadis. There's no military threat as per se. Bangladesh military is not a threat. The hotbed of jihadis, and today what we see is a game of intelligence agencies playing out there. There's a battle between the various different intelligence agencies in the world, and we see, chaos. Airports just don't light up on fire like that. People
Yeah,
just don't vanish and this and that, operations in the jungle and this and that.
yeah.
How do you see this chaos within the country, and what is the impact that you see happening on the politic and the future of the armed forces, especially in Bangladesh?
So the first part of the question first. So anything bad that happens in Bangladesh, whether it's the airport fire, which was quite a worrying thing. An airport doesn't light up like that. It's an international airport. Or whether it's the earthquake that happened just recently, and there were some buildings damaged. I think 3 people were killed in Dhaka. So anything bad that happens in Bangladesh, India is blamed. Sometimes by their politicians, almost always by their religious leaders, and now also by. So even if India was, I don't know whether you'll believe it, but India was blamed for the earthquake in
Hmm.
Bangladesh, and people said, no, Allah is angry because whatever, we have not become what we are supposed to become. So even there, India was brought in. So I mean, now India is a very it's very convenient to blame India. And so I have friends in Dhaka because have traveled inside Bangladesh quite a lot from 2022 to 2024. I have traveled the length and breadth of Bangladesh because I cover it. So it's always important to have to sort of know it from the ground up. And I have met in Bangladeshi Muslims, Hindus, Christians across communities. And I remember I did a talk with Shivani Gupta of News 18. It was a podcast, and there the title of my new book, Inshallah Bangladesh, was discussed. So this friend of mine, I can't take her name. She educated, social elite, in fact, an artist, and all of that. So she sent me a message saying that message where she put out a video of a Bangladeshi student being attacked in India. Okay, unfortunate. Nobody should be attacked in India. I mean, there should be law and order. So that gentleman had come to India to study, and apparently, sort of after the Delhi blasts, he was targeted. Bad thing to happen. And she said, "So what do we call a book on India now? Since you're calling your book on Bangladesh, Inshallah Bangladesh, should we call the book Ram Ram India and put out instances of anti-Muslim hate across India?" And this is she's as uh, elite as it goes. She's like she's an artist. She has also spoken out against Islamic fundamentalism in her country. She does a lot of experiments with art, so which the radicals in our own country, the Muslim radicals in our own country, would quite agree to. But when it comes to India, she has this standpoint, which is sort of very anti-India. So I didn't know how to respond. So I said, haha, because I want to make light of the situation. So she said, oh, why don't we call it haha India? That would also be a good title. So you see what I'm saying, that there is a sense in the which is very worrying, because it's beyond politics. It's beyond what's going to happen in Bangladesh in the next election, whether Sheikh Hasina will be able to go back at any point in the future, whether Army League will be back in Bangladesh's politics. It's about civil society. So if the civil society has within itself such a big anti-India hate, then it's very worrying. The second part of your question is what's happening within Bangladesh military. So yeah, I have known Assaduzzaman Khan Kamal, the former Home Minister of Bangladesh, for a while now. I've done interviews of him for the print for which I write, and even quoted him in my book extensively. He told us he was against Hasina's CIA plot that led to the July Revolution that ousted her from power. And he said that General Waqar Uzzaman, who's by the way relative of Sheikh Hasina and who was made the general of Bangladesh Army by Sheikh Hasina, is a CIA henchman. And he was CIA mole who kind of orchestrated this whole thing, let it happen. He went on to say that yeah. So Mr. Kamal went on to say that the general, betrayed Sheikh Hasina. But so that's an allegation, of course, a very serious one from the former Home Minister. But that aside, I think within Bangladesh Army there is a huge churn, because during Sheikh Hasina's time, one of the things I can tell you is she would make sure that anybody who became a top officer from Major General onward, you know, will have to say the slogan Joy Bangla, okay, which is a slogan of her party, which basically talks about the ideals of the 1971 War of Independence, where India helped Bangladesh become Bangladesh. Now, somebody who's very radicalized will have a problem saying Joy Bangla,
Hmm.
because they see in it a reflection of Bangladesh becoming more than a country based on a religious identity. They see it as a threat to the idea of Islam, their idea of Islamic nation. But now what's happening in Bangladeshi army is that officers who are very close to Jamaat and what it stands for, they are being promoted, So there's a churn within Bangladesh army, and inside and outside, they are sort of very openly meeting members of Jamaat-e-Islami, because in 1971 had come inside their country, which was not a separate country then, but had come in. It was East Pakistan, had come inside East Pakistan and raped and killed them. So they are now very openly members of the Pakistan Army. The Pakistan Navy chief was in Dhaka recently. There were talks, there strategic discussions. So now there's a formal, informal reaching out to Pakistan Army, and from the outside and from inside, there's a churn within to elevate officers who are very close to Jamaat and against our army league. So in a sense, you can say the entire army is being radicalized.
Hmm. But is that even possible in like a period of 1.5 years? Or they think they'll be able to keep this situation alive for
See,
the
these people were always
time?
there. So see, in the within the army, within the police, within the judiciary, there were always people who were pro Jamaat.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's only the top layer that you could manage. Now, if you remove the top layer and you already have people in the system, you just elevate them.
Hmm.
So if you very systematically remove the top layer, and sometimes you don't even have to remove them. Many of them jump sheep, and sort of come to the other side. So maybe some of them were not even believers in the idea of the Army League, or the 1971 idea of Bangladesh. Maybe some of them just pretended to be pretended to be close to that idea. So now they can openly be what they always were.
Hmm.
And then there are people who are a little junior, who are Islamists, who now have a free will to who now have the sort of uh, the freedom to express what they always felt. If you see the
That's,
language of some of the, yeah,
yeah, yeah, please. You're saying,
you were saying,
yeah, you're saying the language of some of them?
yeah, the language of some of the ex generals and some of the current officers, especially the BGB, Border Guards Bangladesh, which is their counterpart, which is the counterpart of BSF, Border Security Force. It's very hostile to India, extremely hostile to India. You know how they
Hmm.
are addressing their their men, and it's very hostile, openly Islamist, and very openly anti-India.
No, I
Now
also know there's a,
you didn't in the course of 1.5 years. Yeah.
I
No, I
I
was saying
also
you didn't
know,
suddenly change everybody. You changed a few people,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it was, I think, within them, and because of Hasina, they couldn't express it before.
I also know a set of people which are opinion makers within Bangladesh, especially the media. I mean, I'm quite surprised at these young girls
Yeah,
wearing saris with bindis, sitting on their media channel
yeah,
and still talking pretty harshly
yeah,
against the Jamaat,
yeah.
against the this.
Very
I can,
harshly.
I yeah, I actually, out of just sheer interest, uh, they keep popping up on because I've been researching, especially on the media part. And there are two, three young ladies. I don't want to
Yeah,
mention their names because poor things. I don't want them to be in trouble.
yeah. It's risky. Yeah,
But they are speaking truth to power. And how is that happening? How is that
yeah.
happening that there's a certain segment of people which are still talking?
Okay, so this is very interesting. Firstly, I mean, not in the good bit is that not the entirety of Bangladesh is buying into what's been happening. Secondly, I think Mr. Yunus is a very smart politician.
Hmm.
So he knows that you need this thin sliver of people to look a certain way, talk a certain way, and publicly put out their angst to show Bangladesh, and especially Dhaka, as a very modern society. Now these people are just talking. So how much harm or how much change can they possibly bring? Okay. It's like, I'll give you an analogy. For instance, there has been targeted attacks on the institution of Durga Puja, which for us Bengalis, both this side and that side of the border, Bengali Hindus, is a big thing. But on paper, there were more Durga Pujas held this year than last year.
Hmm.
Okay. So around 35, more than 35,000 Durga Pujas were held across Bangladesh last year. This year, sorry, in October. So which is a huge number. It was more than the number of Durga Pujas held last year or the year before that. But what you have also done is you have forced them to pay you some kind of a jizya tax in the villages. What has also happened is you have systematically attacked Durga Puja pandals inside villages, broken idols, desecrated them.
Hmm.
Right. What has also happened is you have told them how to hold the puja, how not to keep a loudspeaker, how to turn off the loudspeaker if you're putting it out at a certain time. Right. But on paper, to show that everything's cool, and every time people like you and I point out there's attack on Hindus in Bangladesh, you can call it fake news. So on paper, you have held more number of Durga Puja put out more number of Durga Puja pandals. So it's a very Yunus knows this game very well. So Dhaka will always have in its podcasts and in its TV channels people who does not conform to a certain stereotype, or who are openly against Jamaat, but you will reduce them to just that, a few stray voices. You will keep those voices, protect those voices, but you will let the country be how it wants to be. Right.
Yeah.
So those voices won't be stifled. Those, so it's a very smart game. So I keep saying he's a great politician, very bad statesman. He's a very smart politician. And see, he himself does not even know how to pray. There's this very
Mhm.
funny video that came out this year where he had gone to some during Eid, I think, and he was trying to pray. So somebody showed him, a guy from Jamaat showed him, no, this is how you put your hands up. So he himself, he's a very different. His lifestyle is very different. He's very different, but he also understands that he needs to let the Jamaat be for himself to be in power. So it's very interesting. So don't get carried away by those voices. Those voices are, of course, very important, and salute to them, because you don't. I mean, you put a face on it. Okay, but they are also very strategically kept. They are not tampered with. They are not attacked or silenced, so that before the foreign press, you can say, "Oh, look, we are so secular, or we are so democratic. We allow criticism of everybody."
Okay, taking that point, how does he make sure that the street thug who's basically looting women, raping women on the street right now doesn't do that to these people as well? How does he give them that protection?
He's not giving protection to anybody. The number of, if you look at the stats, the number of rape cases, and worryingly the number of rape of very young girls have shot through the roof. And anyway, some of these people you see on TV come from very privileged backgrounds. Okay, they
Hmm.
are in Dhaka, they are in posh parts of Dhaka. Their circle is very privileged. So they come from very privileged backgrounds. So, I mean, they never had a problem. Many of them were anti-Hasina during Hasina's time also. In fact, I'll tell you that a lot of the elite I met in Dhaka during the time of Hasina were very, not always openly, but were very, but sometimes also openly and vocally anti-Hasina. But they come from very
Hmm.
privileged backgrounds. They have friends and relatives in the army in higher positions, you know. But
Judging
even the
that.
elite now is,
Hmm.
yeah. So
You know,
I mean, they, I don't think have a problem. But
there's another.
since you mentioned women and violence against women, the number of rape cases is now, it's an epidemic in Bangladesh. I mean, even foreign press is writing about it.
Yeah, I was surprised when Al Jazeera picked it up. I mean, the
Yeah,
biggest cover
yeah.
up outlet of them all was saying that women are in trouble in Bangladesh. That was quite a
Yeah.
surprise to me. Now, when we look at this situation, they probably know that India is gonna come for blood. One day or the other it'll happen. We know it, they know it, everyone knows it. There is a conversation within Bangladesh where people are saying
Yes.
ki yaar you're antagonizing India this much. One day when it comes with a hammer, what will you do?
Yeah.
You can't defend, you can't fight them. What will you do? That question is being asked. What is their thought process?
Yeah.
Do they really think that
Yeah.
that nonsense that they keep spouting about? Do they really think that, or is it just to keep that wave across that you keep positioning yourself as anti-India because it kind of gives you some legitimacy? Why I say this is BNP a couple of days ago did an anti-India
Yes.
protest, and that was very interesting
Yeah.
to me.
BNP did an anti-India protest, but you'd know this, and I also know that Tariq Rahman has been reaching out to India. He's extremely afraid to go back to Bangladesh, so he needs assurance from everybody that nothing, no harm will come his way if he actually lands in Dhaka. But having
Why
said
from
that,
India?
there's this news headline I just saw. I must have seen.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
Uh,
why from India?
well, since it's so open in Dhaka, since it's so widely talked about in Dhaka, there is a sense in Dhaka, among even it's a conspiracy theory, of course, but there is a sense in Dhaka, and a lot of people kind of believe it, and those lot of among those lot of people are also journalists and policymakers and politicians who feel that Tariq's father, General Ziaur Rahman, was actually killed by India. It was a raw operation, and it was an answer to the CIA operation apparently that got Mujibur Rahman killed in 1975. So India
Hmm.
answered it by getting General Zia killed in 1981. So it's a belief they have, and with Hasina here, a lot of her ecosystem here, India in a quote unquote shielding Hasina. I think, see, the thing is, India doesn't have to do anything right now. If he's bumped off by the Jamaat, the blame anyway will come to India. So he, at least, I think it's not an assurance of a safety from India, but it's more of an assurance from India that India will, some raw assets within Bangladesh will protect him from Jamaat. I think that's more like it.
No, that's funny. Why? Because
Yeah.
are they trying to tell us
Yeah, because I think India,
that
there's
Bangladesh is so
there's
badly
a gentleman called
situated?
Pinaki.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at I mean, if he lands there in Dhaka, which he has to, I think, at some point, if elections are held in February, then something happens to him. I mean, who it will straight out be looked at as an India operation if they are blaming India for earthquakes. Imagine something happens to Tariq Rahman inside Dhaka after all these years. He lands in Dhaka and is bumped off. I mean, who else will be blamed? They'll go to town. Yunus will go to town. The BNP leaders will go to town. Saying that it's a India operation. So I think he wants India to save him from his own people. I mean, nobody's going to say this to you as openly, perhaps, but I think the scare is that because anyway, there is a sense that the General Ziaur Rahman assassination, which was done by incidentally by his own army,
Own
and
army.
Ziaur Rahman had done a lot of shit within the army when he came to power. He got a lot of his own army and air force people hanged
Yeah, yeah.
for wanting to do a coup. So I think it was retribution. It was his own people getting back at him, own people in uniform getting back at him. But since there's a sense that it was a raw operation, then there is this. Then anything that happening to Tariq Rahman will also be seen as a raw operation.
Now, help me understand. Today, Yunus's own standing within Bangladesh has taken a bad beat, right? People don't like him anymore, and there is open abusing of Yunus. But
Yeah,
the fear is of the
yeah,
Jamaat, right? The fear is of the Jamaat pretty clearly, and they keep, they keep that thing alive. Ki,
yeah,
bhai, Jamaat, Jamaat, Jamaat. How does
yeah.
Yunus sustain himself going forward?
So yeah, but Yunus is also a compromise candidate from all parties to
Mm.
see through this period. See, Jamaat does not want elections right away. Jamaat does not want to give away power to BNP, its erstwhile ally. They had a government. They were in government together during 2001. One of the
Yeah.
worst periods in recent memory for Hindus in Bangladesh. The kind of atrocities that happened, and I have this on record from the president of Bangladesh. But at that time, he was a president elect, and he had a different prime minister, so he won't repeat it, I'm sure. But I put it in the book. Once he became president elect, I had an opportunity to meet Muhammad Shahabuddin Chuppu, and he told me he was part of a judicial commission that looked at the anti-Hindu violence inside Bangladesh when in 2001 BNP Jamaat came to power together. And he said that he's gone to villages as part of that commission where some Hindu women were raped so many times during the course of a single night that they lost their head. They went mad by that kind of violence. And this is the president of Bangladesh telling me when I went to meet him in his office. Now, he may not say that again, like I said, because now he's dealing with a Yunus and if there's an election. So, Jamaat does not want to give power to BNP. Jamaat has become very popular. They have won university elections across Bangladesh, from Dhaka University students union election onwards. But they may not be politically so big yet to have an election their way. They're now very popular, but there's it's not such a big political structure. They don't have that much vote, right? So they would want to defer election, and for that, what do you have? You have a caretaker government which just carries on and on. While the
Mm.
BNP wants election because BNP knows that it's their election to win. With the Army League away, it's an easy election to win.
Mm.
So for all other most of the other political players involved, Yunus is one guy who, even if unpopular, is somehow holding fort while people are doing what they're doing.
Because he doesn't bother.
No, he bothers. The report saying that he also wants to get out, but it's par. I mean, he's still the see. He's a very international circuit guy. So even if he's unpopular within the country, outside he's the face of Bangladesh. So
You
he
know, in,
gets to go out, give maps of his country with parts of India in it. He needs to meet Pakistanis and Chinese and the Americans, and he can sort of talk human rights and fake news generated by India, and how it's the time for Bangladesh's self-determination, and how it's a Gen Z revolution that sowed the seeds of the next Gen Z revolution in Nepal. So you can say all these things, right? He's anyway a darling of the Clintons and the Bidens. So it's only as a caretaker he can go around. He doesn't. I don't think he knows his country a lot, but he knows his country's political players enough to realize that how he can keep them happy. So which is
I've
why I
always
said that he's a very smart politician, a very bad statesman.
I've always believed he kept a ring of these jihadis around him so that he could just hold power, because nobody will come close with the jihadis. Even the army is not very happy dealing with them. I mean,
Yes,
the same part of the army, the jihadi part of the army is, of course, the other side. But I've
yes,
always felt that he's kept that ring around him, which is his protection ring.
yes. So he knows that you are that's the protection ring. You can't do without them. You don't
Yeah,
speak their language. You don't become them, but you need them.
yeah, yeah. And they're happy keeping you there because they don't have to face the music outside.
Yes, they don't have to face the music outside. They get to do what they want to do from time to time. Like for instance, there was this instance where there was the talk, and it's a talk that happened during Hasina's time, a proposal to have music teachers in primary schools. Now he was about to implement it. The fundamentalist said no, and he struck down that order. He said okay. There is another very interesting thing. I think the one very interesting thing for me that he did were the 433 recommendations from the Women's Reform Commission last year, late last year. It's a commission his government only set up, and it was Adi. Let me tell you, it was very interesting, sort of, and bold, if I may use the word, very bold recommendations, which talked, some of which would be sort of will be hotly debated, are hotly debated in India as well. Stuff like marital rape, yeah, rights for sex workers, and all those reproduction rights. All of these things were part of the 433 recommendations that the Women Reforms Commission put out. The moment, and now he lent his voice to it, and he said, okay, these are recommendations we can't during this interim period sort of put out as law, but some of it will put out, some of it the future governments will look at, because this is a roadmap. The moment he said it, thousands of jihadists descended on Dhaka streets,
Yeah.
and people openly called him an NGO worker and whatnot, and somebody who's attacking Islam and not just Bangladesh. Popular podcasters, YouTubers said that Dr. Yunus doesn't even know his country, and that was the last you heard of those recommendations. So he has also learned when to back off, right? And for the jihadists, he's a bright, shiny face to have for the world, while they get to do what they want to do.
Now tell me this. We, I mean, there's a lot which is happening in India right now with Bangladeshis running back. We can see that happening, and it
The
does
SIR
seem like,
exercise, yeah.
yeah, it does seem like we have our foot on their tail somewhere or the other, because they're not able to not even create a voice or shout or scream or nothing. Previously, they got BBC and all to write
Yeah,
an article. They got BBC to come and make a video, but didn't really impact anything. It didn't. They tried it.
yeah,
Today, it's like it's
yeah,
open in Khatam. So we've got something on
yeah.
them, even on the Jamatis, and that's something which is very interesting to me, that they're not able to raise this subject within their people to say that, oh, this is India. If they blame India for an earthquake, the least you can do is India is
Hmm.
throwing out our people. They're not doing that, which is very interesting to me. So, what do you think is happening in that aspect?
So what they're doing is they're not doing it. They're looking at it as a human rights thing, and
Mm.
they have their overground workers.
Yeah, I can hear you. So,
So you asked me about the SIR exercise and why there is no brouhaha about it inside
yeah.
Bangladesh. So actually, there is. They are framing it as a human rights question. So
Mm.
anything that happens within Bangladesh, they immediately internalize it. How they do it is a different matter. So there are people within Bangladesh writing for foreign press who are talking about it. The
Mm.
government may not have come out and said it as much as you and I would expect them to, but they are looking at it as a exercise, uh, as something they need to tell the world through media, through international media, via their people who are in international media. So a lot of Bangladeshis who are fluent in the language you and I are speaking right now, who are doing what they're doing about the SIR exercise in foreign press, in terms of op-eds and investigative stories. So they are watching it very closely.
Now, what do you think our prerogative or our outlook should be going forward? Because at the end of it, we know that there is a sort of a dirty game being played by the Americans also in this region. They have their interests with Myanmar and China and all that, and they're trying to do that in
Yes.
the middle of it. Pakistan always takes advantage and creates some sort of a this thing,
Yeah.
because the Americans use Pakistan, and Pakistani when Pakistan do some naughty stuff, the Americans just look the other direction. as if nothing is happening.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing
Yeah.
is happening here. It's a repeat of Afghanistan. Basically, they're using Pakistan to create
Yeah.
some challenge. They're using these guys to create that nonsense with the Arakan and of course the Rohingyas. So, what do you think the Indian outlook should be now?
I think India should wait for an election. The best thing to happen to Bangladesh right now, whichever party comes to power, is an election, an elected government, so that India can talk directly. And India's position has been that there has to be an elected government for India to start talking. So Delhi and Dhaka needs to start talking, and I believe that unlike last time, Delhi needs to talk to more political players, whoever they are, inside Bangladesh. If we can talk to the Taliban, we can talk to Jamaat. We should be talking to everybody, I think. And a lot of their one of the good things is, no matter what they say in their constituencies, most of the political players want to talk to India. They are vying for attention from Delhi. So I think India should be talking to more political players once there is a government in power. About the civil society, I'd say at least in the long short term, the civil society is lost as far as and India should be thinking of strategies outside the 1971 narrative, because that narrative is long gone. There is, for instance, if you are a young man during 1971 when that ideology affected you, you are in the later stages of your life right now, right? Now the Gen Z in Bangladesh, so-called Gen Z in Bangladesh, for them it's something too foreign, right? And we tend to only talk about 1971. We should be talking about a lot more things. We should be telling them the advantage of having India as a neighbor, the trade partnership, the strategic deals. You should be talking a lot more than constantly harping on 1971. Yes, we helped them. They don't want to believe it anymore. They think we helped them to show the middle finger to Pakistan.
Hmm.
They are pulling down the statues of their own founding father. And India constantly talking about 1971 doesn't help anymore. So India should have more talking points. And India should be talking to more political players once there's an election. And India should do what it's doing, but it should not put all its eggs in one basket, like perhaps it did during Hasina's time.
Hmm. There is also, the whole question about terrorism, like the Delhi blast. There are certain links which are coming out from there. Um,
Yes.
we recently caught 16,000 kgs of bomb making material in Birbhum in West Bengal also. That was in about March. So
Yeah.
there is some sort of a link, and I personally presume I've done a lot of investigation on this. Whatever is there in the open source, I personally feel that some amount of explosives, but most importantly, detonators and all that stuff has come from Bangladesh. And I
Yeah.
mentioned it that it's come through UP through these meat routes and the J&K security firms, which are it's come here. What if something really
Yeah.
tangible comes out? Because we are all waiting, and the government is also waiting for that investigation to complete so that whatever action they want to take. What if something tangible comes out? What
Yeah.
happens then? Are the Bangladeshis talking about that?
Bangladesh, August 8th, 2024, it was when Yunus was sworn in as the caretaker to the interim government of Bangladesh. In the last week of August, the Ansarullah Bangla team chief with a designated terror outfit was let out of jail. Since then, there have been so many occasions since then and now, since August last year to now, so many occasions with stuff like ISIS flags being raised inside Dhaka, all kinds of fundamentalists being given access to march on the streets of Dhaka, to talk about Sharia law, to talk about, I mean, only recently, I don't know whether you saw it, there was an attack on a very famous Baul singer,
Hmm.
right? Horrific attack. Now, this has the interim government has been very open about being very liberal with fundamentalists and terror groups. I think India should, the moment there is an election, there's a government, India should be very strict that this is where we draw the line. We do not want to see in our neighboring country any direct anti-India activity. Having said that, the civil society being as radicalized and as anti-India as it is now, you need to keep your eyes and ears open on what's happening in Bangladesh's civil society. Because, like I said at the beginning of the our talk, that it's not just who the which political party or which leader of which political party becomes the next comes to power in Bangladesh next. It's about civil society. It's about the hate and the Islamism that is being spread inside, that has already spread inside Bangladeshi society. I say this, and I've also written it uh, in the book, Inshallah Bangladesh, the story of an unfinished revolution. That you know, Hindus are unsafe in Bangladesh is now old news. It's yesterday's headline. Today's headline is that even Muslims are not safe in Bangladesh. I can tell you a lot of my friends in Bangladesh who are Muslims and belong to a certain social strata. They are actually taking the flight out. They're looking to stay outside Bangladesh. They are also not safe because they are not Muslim enough for the idea of Bangladesh that's coming in, already coming. So India needs to keep a very, very, very keen watch on its civil society, on the madrasas, on the waj mahfils, which are these religious gatherings. Where there's one religious preacher who tells you uh, from everything about how to have a sex life to who to hate
Yeah.
in among your neighboring
There.
countries. So you should keep a very deep watch.
That I heard one of those things. I mean, I don't understand
Yeah,
Bangla
one
fully, but
if you go, it's like I mean, it would have been comic if it was not so scary. So they tell you every how to kiss your partner, from that
women
to the
sitting
right
in
way to
there,
kiss
yeah.
your partner.
There are women sitting in there. I mean, I
Women
was
sitting
like,
in there, and there, yeah, yeah, villages where there are sizable Hindu populations, and open hate, open misogyny,
yeah.
and
Well,
hundreds and thousands of people attending them.
my last question is that, there is, of course, that rumor which goes around Siliguri, everybody's talking about right now. Something may be happening, something may not be happening. I don't know. I don't want to say whatever it is. I personally feel it's an area domination exercise where you kind of show that, listen, a lot of stuff could be done. You're, putting that message. Plus, you're strengthening your own security. You're also doing whatever you're doing. Um, let's say something really happens. Let's say something comes up and this Pakistan link in Bangladesh gets established, and we are, of course, bound by our own policies to take action, right?
Yeah,
It does not solve the jihadi problem. It doesn't.
it
Um,
doesn't.
it does give us some satisfaction, probably taking the neck off or whatever we decide to do. It's good, fantastic, love it.
Yeah,
Um, you said that going forward, India must engage with all sides, which I agree with. You've done that successfully in Nepal, in Sri Lanka, in Maldives. Can you really engage with the Jamati?
see, Adi, I till the other
And
day, I
sorry,
yeah,
I'll interrupt you if you don't mind. Can you really
yeah.
engage with the Jamati when you have the intention of smacking him in his face?
I think to smack him in his face properly and effectively, you need to engage with him. Because who is the Jamati? The Jamati has gone beyond your stereotype of him. The
Mm.
Jamati is wearing the sharp suits now. He's sitting inside foreign press offices. He's sitting inside NGOs, international NGOs. He's sitting inside the United Nations. Who all will you smack in the face? So to effectively smack them on the face, you need to know them first. So that's why you need to talk to them. And they're so willing
You
to
know?
talk to you. They are saying,
Yeah.
do you know something? Jamaat has gone out and appealed to Hindus in Bangladesh, saying that vote for us. Under a Jamaat government, you will be most secure.
Chickens for KFC, man. That's what the situation is. Deep sir, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. And let me just say this: I hope this is not
Mhm.
one-off interaction. We keep this open because this was a
No, no, I hope so
uh,
too.
yeah. Rather than going at it with a lot of rhetoric, this is I like to keep the realistic mixed with a little bit conspiracy. That's also there in the realism at the end of it because Most of these
Yeah.
conspiracies, considering today's world, are truths waiting to be proven. And by the end of it,
Yeah.
when you realize that there's something up there.
I
Anyways,
think
thank you so much, sir.
somebody very interestingly said, somebody interestingly said that every inconvenient truth is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's very difficult to kind of figure out what's happening. Thank you, sir, for your time, and I hope to
Yeah.
see you back once
Thank you
again very
so
soon.
much.
Audience,
Yes.
please
Thank you.
like, subscribe, and share your comments as to what you guys think. Of course, all of you will be in half abusive mood because Bangladesh is fair enough. I can get that, but this is a reality and that we have to deal with. So let's figure it out. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind.